Hi, everybody. My name is Cheryl Hutto, and I am pleased to have my friend and colleague with me this morning, Lee Gallagher, who has been working in the field of trauma for many, many years. And good morning, Lee.
Well, good morning, Cheryl. So good to join you.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about your work in this field of trauma.
Sure. I've really spent my life working with children and adolescents and their families, mostly with complex trauma, which really means that I worked with children that really have had significant traumatic experiences, exposures, et cetera, in their life. And my primary role really is as a trauma therapist and helping other therapists learn and work with these kids and their families. It's been an absolute pleasure. The other thing I really have enjoyed doing is creating trauma-informed systems so that the places that our children are cared for and treated have the ability to really see them, feel them, and hear them so that they're able to be most helpful.
Wow, that's some really huge work.
It's been a joy, you know. People say that, like, how could you do that? And they say, oh, it's so this or that. For me, it really has been a joy. And just recently I've been, semi-retired, and now I do a lot more consultation, etc. But my heart will always be there and remain there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, so what, and I've invited you here today because I work predominantly with an adult population, people who are caring for others in
Mm.
over a long period of time often. And how do you think that, we could talk about trauma, for adults and versus children? And people get confused about trauma. They think often that it has to be some
Mm.
catastrophic event. But could you tell us, a
Sure.
little bit about simplified trauma for us?
Okay. Not an easy thing to do, but I'll give it a shot. Um, I think when we use the word trauma, people do. They get really like, oh, what is it? And all that kind of stuff. And really, the way I think about it is that, we live our lives and we have experiences and we have all sorts of experiences. And some of them can really create what I consider like a stuck place or a real hardship. And what happens is some experiences in that stuck become a traumatic experience that hasn't flowed through our sense of self, hasn't become something that we look back at with some material that tells us that we understand it, that we're okay, that we got through it. And trauma, the treatment of trauma, it really is that those experiences end up being stuck in the past. So what happens for folks is these experiences, when they're in the present, walking down the street, they'll get a reminder of that past experience. And that will bring up that experience just like it was happening then. And that's terrifying and hard. And, who would want that? So the treatment of trauma is bringing that past experience into the now, into the present, and having it adapted, having it understood, having it feel like it is done with, because it is. One of the funniest things about it is like, for instance, we were just chatting about this earlier. I was in a car accident 3 years ago. Now, I can be reminded of that car accident, and the first thing that's going to happen is my body's going to have a response. The body talks first. So I might get a little anxiety in my stomach, a little, sensation in my fingertips. I might get a dry mouth. I might, get a thought. I might get a flash or a vision. And how much I've integrated that into my presence will tell me how much this thing is going to disturb me, how much it's going to dysregulate me, how much it's going to get me off track. So what happens is when we have those experiences, they can either flow through and be digested, or they can kind of get stuck. And trauma treatment is taking that unstuck and helping the person put it in the past, because it's not happening now. When I think about it or flash about it, and I might get that anxiety, I look around and, you know, it was 3 years ago, it's in the past, but it's remnants, it's remembering can become present. And that's trauma treatment, is to bring that from the past and make sure that we've integrated it, we've settled it, we've digested it. We can understand it now from a different view, like an adaptive view, something that works for us. I did the best I could. I'm okay. You know, oh, I forgot to unplug my phone.
It's okay. Trauma triggered.
I'm hoping it stops. Oh, and it did. Excellent. There we go. I did the best I could. The phone has stopped. I can relax. We're all good. So I think about it kind of that way. So all of us have these experiences that we have, and we carry them. And we carry them differently, all of them. And so we know those things about ourselves, and we can notice them. And so we kind of know, you know, the things that bother us. Where does that come from? Right. And when we're not, you know, we're not always settled, but somewhat settled about things, then we've done some adaptive work. It makes sense to us. If it unsettles us and gets us totally off track and dysregulated, a good thing to say is, I wonder, a curiosity, really. I wonder where that comes from. What is that about? And you'll find that it's sitting someplace. And that's what trauma treatment really is about, is to be able to take what's sitting in the past and bring it to the present and allow the person to sit with it well. You know, there's no reason that it has to carry on like that.
So Lee, interesting that, you know, you can, for the sake of people watching this interview right now, what could you say to them when they say, well, you know, where's my treatment specialist? I can't, and I'm not sure I'm traumatized anyway. First of all, how could, if someone is saying, well, something triggers me all the time and makes me angry, okay, how can they get to the bottom of that without professional help? Is that possible?
Well, the first thing, what you just said is a really good point. When we get triggered, what happens is that we become unregulated, right? We get into the fight flight, right? So yes, there are things we can do with that regardless, right? We can calm ourselves down when these things happen to us. And this isn't my work, but this is really Ruth Laney's, I think, really did this in an article that came out recently about it. And they talked about these 4 steps that you can do that can really help during this time, because all of us are anxious now. So any anxiety we had about other things, it's talking to us more now, right? So, you know, for instance, like I had something happen this morning that honestly, a year ago, I think I wouldn't have had any anxiety, but I already have all this anxiety that I'm not quite as safe as I used to be. I have to worry about, I have to wash my hands 100 times a day. So, you know, you're reminded all the time, like, oh, something's going on. So you're carrying that, and then you have these other things. So the first thing to do is when you notice, and that's a great word. There are 2 words to really pay attention to: notice and curiosity. Because, you know, the other thing about trauma is it's the human condition. We're all the same, you know, so we all get here honest. So like when I used to work with kids and they would say, oh, you know, I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that. I'm saying, no, you're just human. If I had that experience, I could have that response as well. We're all the same. So there's nothing wrong with you. There's no damage or anything like that. You're just being a human being. So the 2 things to really do is to notice and to be curious about it. There's no judgment. We all feel these things. So curiosity means that when you notice, that you want to notice and tune into your body first. And a lot of times people will say, well, what do you mean by that? You know, what does that mean? So like when you are driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, what happens to you, right? Because that happens to all of us at some point. And you might feel a little anxiety in your stomach. You might feel, you know, you might get tense. You might like go like that, you know, really clench up. But your body's going to have the response first because there's a danger that sat in front of you. And we are wired to respond to danger because we want to survive. So you're going to go into that, you know, what can I do? I got to be okay. So I have to have a response. So the first thing is to notice and be curious about it and tune into it. Like, you know, when you start to notice the body first, you're getting your information more quickly than when you're noticing your thoughts, because your thoughts come later, actually. And the quickest way, or one, again, I shouldn't say that because it's too like dogmatic, but the next thing to do is to really use your breath. And everybody says breathe. I get that. You know what, you know, we got that. I've been told that 1,000 times. So I'm just going to say it a little bit differently. So here I am driving down and I'm in the car and I tense up. Now what I'd like you to do is take a breath, any breath, and just notice it. And notice the first one.
Right.
Right? And then notice the second one. You're not doing anything, you're just noticing it. And then just extend your inhale just a little bit. And then exhale a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And that's it. Inhale, exhale. And make sure the exhale is just a tad longer than the inhale. And you can slowly, incrementally build on that if you wish, if you find that calming. And what happens is the breath then tells the other part of your body, tells your parasympathetic nervous system, it's okay, right? So it starts to feel a little safer in the body. You're telling the body it's okay. You're breathing, right? Just a little bit. And so all of this is notice, curiosity, and just let it be. You have nothing to do. There's nothing here to do. You're just trying to create your sense of safety in your body a little bit to bring it down. So you're transferring, instead of going up in the fight flight, you're coming down from the fight flight. And just be curious and watch it. See what happens for you.
Right.
What you may notice is that you don't want to go into deep breathing. That creates too much anxiety and panic. So keep it light. Just go where it feels good for you and just bring it down the way you wish to bring it down. You know, everybody's different that way. And the third thing to do after that is somehow connect with a human. Now, in this time, it's really hard to connect with humans, right? In the same way as we used to, but there's many ways we can adapt to that, right? So let's say you're in the car and there's nobody there and you're alone. How do you connect with another human? Okay,
Right.
good question, right? So I would say a couple things you could do. Is there somebody in your world that when you think of them, when you envision them, when they come to mind, create some calm for you? Is there anybody like that, right? So they can be there in that car with you. You just have to bring them up. Like my grandmother is one of those people for me. And I don't have my grandmother anymore, right? But sometimes I just think, oh, Mary Mulvey, how you doing? And she's with me, right? So I say, sit in the passenger seat, okay? Just sit there with me for a minute, okay? And, you know, I'll talk to her a little bit, right? And that might sound crazy to people, but it's very calming, right? She had me on her knee when I was 4. I'm 66 now, right? But I remember that. That's embodied in my sense of calm. And so I'll calm a little bit. If you have, and I know driving and everything, calling, you might not want to call people, but that's one you can do immediately. So keep a resource like that with yourself, somebody that you feel, you know, brings that forward. And you know, you can just envision them, say to them, look what happened here. This guy, you know, just, you know, cut me off. You know, thanks for being there. And you're going to feel this human connection, even though you're not in it. But you are in it because you're carrying it. Right,
I really love that. And for all we know, they might be sitting in the seat next to us.
They might be even better, you know? Better. So express it, you know, express it with a human. And that deflates, right? That makes you feel safer. You're not alone anymore. Right. You know, there's been a lot of studies about when we express our feelings, actually say them, that we create calm, that the body just does it. And there's all sorts of studies about stuff. So connecting in any way you can with someone that can create that calm for you. Sometimes, you know, folks will say, well, I have absolutely nobody. And I say, well, you know, how about an animal? You know, you might have a cat or a dog. You might have a garden. I mean, you know, what is it that creates that for you? And then, you know, try to put it there. So connect with others, and others is broad, can be very broad. Absolutely. And that can really help too. And last but not least, and this one is the one that we tend to ignore everything and do this one first, and that's our thoughts. And, you know, how are we perceiving? What's our story right now about what happened? So this guy just, you know, I shouldn't say guy, somebody cut me off. My own prejudice, I'm sure, just came out there. But anyway, somebody cut me off. And so what's my thought? My thought would be, oh, you're an idiot. You know, I can't stand you. We have all these crazy thoughts, right? None of them really true. I have no idea who this person is. I have no idea why they had to cut me off. Maybe they're going to the hospital. Maybe they're, you know, who knows? Maybe there's a really good reason. So what do I say about this experience when I hear myself in these thoughts saying you're an idiot, you're this or that? What could I say that might take the juice out of that reaction? I might say something like, I have no idea why. You know, I hope you're okay, whatever's happening to you. I did well. You know, I'm driving right now. I'm good. You know, we're all good, right? So I changed my story, you know, more adaptively. What's really happening here? You know, I don't know if this person's an idiot or not. Why would I call him an idiot? That's not about them. That's about me, right? That's something from God knows where, but that's something about me. And it's a false story. I'm just making it up, really. You know, so what really happened here? You know, I don't know. But what is happening right now? I'm driving well. I'm heading where I need to go. I managed this. I did the best I could. I'm really an okay driver. I hope they're well. Sometimes, you know, just an act of gratitude when you say, I'm thankful that we're both okay. Gratitude's a very interesting mechanism for calming. So that can help as well. Right. So those 4 points, and they don't come from me. Somebody sent me an article. So tuning into your body first, really noticing and be curious about it. Use your breath, and don't worry about all these big words about it. Just notice it. Increase the inhale a little bit. Exhale a little bit more than the inhale. Do as much or as little and notice how you feel. Connect with someone, any resource that brings you calm, and harness those thoughts. You know, like, what are they really, right? And that can just help you when those triggering situations come up, because we all just want to get back to some kind of state of balance, some kind of, you know, we want to be able to think versus react. And when you're in fight flight, because we're wired to survive, the thinking, it's kind of like this, right? So a danger comes in, we can't think anymore. We have to rely on our reactivity because we don't have time. It's like, you know, like the old joke, like you're walking in the Sahara Desert and you see a tiger and you say, I wonder what I should do. I mean, should I run away? Should I fight the tiger? I'm not so sure. And what's happened now, right? You've been eaten. You know, you took a little too much time to figure out what to do. So that's all. So we're wired to do something, to help with that danger immediately. And it's a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. Yeah. You know, but with things in life all the time, sometimes that danger, we want to be able to manage it without losing our minds, actually, at the same time. There's this wonderful little video. It's on the internet someplace, I don't know where. And I believe it's elephants. It's a beautiful video. There's a baby elephant and they're out, you know, and there's trees and everything. I don't describe things too well, but they're out there hanging out and eating. And a tree limb falls down and scares the baby elephant. And the baby elephant right, freaks out. All the adult elephants encircle the baby elephant, and the mother touches it, calms it down, touches it, right? Okay. And then the baby regulates, the child regulates, and then all the adults disperse.
Yeah.
So they took the body, the baby elephant's body, they brought it back, let it know it was safe, right? Told them they were okay, encircled them, connected, right? And then opened up. And the baby elephant has nothing about that now. There's no trauma because the baby got everything it needed to be able to take that experience and know I'm okay.
Right.
I'm taken care of. I'm safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And, you know, that's maybe an interesting segue into something I wanted to ask you. Like, you know, and you mentioned it a minute ago, contacting another to regulate and co-regulate. But what do you think that we can all do together right now, you know, and in terms of keeping our trauma level down and forgiving ourselves when we do get triggered and lash out at someone, because that is a very big struggle for many caregivers. They bark at who they're caring for, and then that's trauma in itself, and it just becomes a vicious cycle.
Well, I think that's a great point. One thing I think that we can practice for ourselves is to really honor the fact that we are doing the best we can. I am doing the best I can. And I'm human, you know, so I will not do it right, whatever that is, all the time. But I bring myself to it. My intention, you know, what's my intention? Exactly. You know, so a lot of times go back to your intention. You know, your intention is fine. You're just being human. Sometimes when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're stressed, we just don't have as much reserve to be able to manage things. We have to say that to ourselves. We have to say it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think just saying it out loud, just saying, I'm sorry I barked at you. I'm just exhausted. And okay, right?
Right.
You know, most people can go with that. And, you know, so I think just being real with yourself and forgiving yourself, but just do it. Say it to yourself. Don't just say like, okay, you know, all right, I won't do it again. Really just say, you know, I'm okay. I'm doing the best I can.
Right.
You know, I'm really tired. You know, why don't I take a moment now, because I'm exhausted, just to sit for 5 minutes and recoup, right? Be kind to yourself.
Right.
That's the other thing, is that sometimes we really lack compassion for ourselves. And that's the other thing that is very good for people, is to practice some self-compassion. Like, you know, look at what we ask ourselves to do. I mean, you know, if you sit back and look at that, it's like, whoa, okay, you know, who would do that? You know, nobody on the, you know, so we want to have compassion for what we have, you know, what we're doing and what we're trying to do, and be kind to you. And one thing that is really kind of a thing that people can do, that I like to do, and I don't know if you can see me, but if you take your hands and put them right over your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Put them right on your heart and say, I do the best I can. You know, I'm okay. You know, the other thing is there's a lot of this, like, we can't be touching and hugging, but if we want to tell someone like, I love you, and we want to resonate it kind of in a physical way, put your hands on your heart. Have them put their hands on their heart and say whatever you wish to say. You know, I'm sorry I barked at you. I'm just exhausted. You know, please forgive me.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself.
Right. Right.
And this, it's a funny neurological thing, but this creates the physicality of a hug for somebody.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Wow.
So to you, Cheryl, for all you do, all those folks out there every day, you know, taking care of other people, which is one of the greatest honors of life, is being able to take care of others. So
Yeah.
love you for that, babe.
Love you back. Thank you. And thank you so much for being here, Lee. Was there anything else that we left out that you wanted to touch on? And then say goodbye.
No, I think some things be kind to yourself, be grateful for yourself, you know that you have the right to feel peace and be at peace. And, for me, the more I open up my gratitude, the calmer I get. When I spill my coffee on myself, and I start yelling at myself like, oh my God, you're such a slob, you just spilled your coffee all over yourself. Then I open up and say, I spilled my coffee all over myself. And, it's a beautiful sunny day today. That can help me a lot too.
Yeah.
This has been an absolute pleasure, Cheryl. Thank you so much. And to all your folks out there, send you all my love and give you all a big hug.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much.
Take care.